All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. We got a shortened trading week ahead of us. Thanksgiving week is here. NQ on Friday, we had that bounce this morning. Overnight session, fairly uneventful. A lot of churn right through here in this 400 area. So, prior area of support, this 400 pivot now being retested. So, this would be a good area for sellers to show up and attempt to defend. That's going to be my main watch for this morning, whether or not sellers can actually defend this 24,400 pivot. You have the weekly open right in that area as well. Weekly open is right at about 450. So essentially, if sellers fail to show up and defend this pivot, I'll be looking at prior day high, which price is pretty much already right into there, and then up into last week's volume point of control and the 24,800 upside level of interest. Potentially into 25K, depending on what that move looks like and how much volume we have for today. I am expecting a lower volume week here. Tends to be the norm with holiday weeks. But as always, we'll look to the actual volume data to confirm that or not. Now, if we do see sellers actually showing up here off the open, a rejection of 400, more than likely I want to wait for this area down into here. 24K down into last week's low, 23,900. We'll definitely see what sort of reaction we have in this area at the 24,158 level of interest, which is the October 10th low. But my assumption would be that if we see a rejection here at 400, price is going to target Friday's low in the 24K. So that's the game plan for this morning. It's largely contingent on how price responds to this pivot. The 400, the 24,400. If we see price continuing to hold above, I'll be looking for longs, either up above overnight high, prior day high area, and or versus 24,400 and potentially an overnight low spring setup I would consider, depending on how that unfolds. So let's see what we get this morning. About 2 minutes until the open. Taking a look at that overnight sesh, yeah, largely range bound. Extended hours volume point of control right there at 480. Weekly open is at 455. And then your overnight low is 360. All right, 1 minute till the open. Let's see what we're working with this morning. Volume pretty light for the overnight session, with the exception of that 4:30 a.m. sell. There's your opening print about 522. Little push right off the open. You can see a gap higher there, but still within the prior day's range. Here comes that overnight high. Okay, there's your overnight high being tested, and then prior day high is right up there at 600. Yeah, ES testing the overnight high as well. And let's see the prior day high. This will kind of be the real test. So far up and through. So buyers looking for acceptance above this area now, the 575 by 600. Oh, NQ's up 1.4%. There's ES testing prior day high as well. See if NQ can hold above. Really targeting last week's volume point of control at 700 and then the 800 level of interest. Anyone riding? Last week's volume point of control coming up here. Yeah, we grabbed the 15-second entry there. Still riding it. Check the hammer on your 15-second. There's 700. I'm gonna trail like just beneath 660 here. Really would like to go for 800, but that'd be a lot of points to give back right now. Right at overnight high, yeah, that little, you'll see the microstructure there if you zoom in on the little micro time frame. I'm still trading just half size right now, same as last week. Trailing 681. Oh, Gabe, you caught that? Nice. May get trailed. Take a look here. Yeah, it's last week's volume point of control right there. So you can expect a seller. Let's go bar by bar on the 1 minute here. So just beneath 680. Crispy, nice work. So we see a little microstructure attempting to build. If we can make a new high, I think we go for 800. Trailed out. Took the trail. That's all good. Not bad. 575 ish to 680. So 105 points. Start the morning. And like I said before the bell, we can see some action above that overnight high, prior day high area. I like longs there. So we just look for the microstructure or any sort of structure that you can get involved with. And that was presented on the 15-second chart. You'll see the hammer right there on NQ, right at the overnight high. So you're long above the hammer and then put your stop beneath the hammer low. So let's see how this builds out here. Volume actually below average for the most part here. And so far, I'm pretty happy with my trail. NQ bumping into last week's volume point of control. It's that yellow line right through here on my 2-hour chart. You can see it pretty much tested to the tick. 725. I'll just throw a level here so I can see it on my intraday chart. There we go. Last week's high, 25,361 from Monday morning at 4 a.m. So NQ, we'll see if that prior day high, overnight high area continues to hold. If you have a failure there, basically 575, I would be looking for the 24,400 to be retested. ES is back beneath overnight high. Yeah, that was a nice trail. I'm happy with my trail there. Happy with the trail. So far, that's the 50% fib intraday being retested and holding. I can't take an entry there without another reference point. I don't set risk against fibs on their own, but that's a clean bounce from the 50. See if ES can reclaim that prior day high or not. Right now, just staying patient. Opening 15-minute bars, getting ready to close here in 1 minute. So NQ potentially intraday lower high. See, this right here, I'd consider like the must hold area. And ES is almost back into session lows there. Volume still kind of below average. Opening 15-minute bar closes with a big wick. NASDAQ coming into that little intraday structure point. So the 50% fib continues to hold. I'm not taking another entry here. We're just chilling right now. Ten minutes till 10 a.m. No data at 10 a.m. this morning. So far, there's a Monday with below average volume. We had a rally right off the open. NQ up and through prior day high, tested last week's volume point of control, and sellers were right there. Right now, I want to see how this area is going to be treated if buyers can defend this point right through here. If not, if we have a failure there, I'll be looking at down into 400 most likely before considering any other positions. Sorry, I realized you couldn't see the chart. There it is. Well, there's prior day high being retested. Overnight high just beneath. ES is into session lows. New low of day for ES. And a little uptick in volume. There you go. So let's see, it's kind of lying in the sand here before 400, if you ask me. Let's see how that profile developed. Okay. It's a decent little push right there. Question is, can it actually show follow through? Is this just gonna build into another little lower high? That was my spot, so I had to try it. And on this, we'd be looking for session highs. 725. Des riding RTY long. Nice. Looks like that's into highs. Solid. So you can see my executions there. Both entries, relatively speaking, near the same area, right? Come into the session with a game plan, with a level that you would like to engage with price. For me, that's going to be overnight high, prior day high area today. Next step is just waiting for price to actually set up in those zones and then execute accordingly. So if NQ can break that 690 area here, should be quick move into session highs. $25K psychological level NQ. We are looking at different charts. The NQ could not break that 685, 690 area there. Probably get trailed out. Trails at 607. Basically break even on that runner. Yeah, ES could not reclaim overnight high either. 4 minutes till 10 a.m. You can see the kind of intraday structural resistance right through here. So I was talking about earlier with the 680, 690, you know, see buyers break, and then you can be pretty fast into session highs and maybe even 800. Clean this up a little bit. So we did the initial opening drive long with some microstructure. We have the retest right through there. In that case, you have the fib buy zone plus the confluence of two other reference points, overnight high and prior day high. It's going to be nearly an A plus setup. Have to get long there. I need to see price break this pretty soon here. Otherwise, I'll trail out just beneath 610. And I would not be interested in another long here from the same zone. So this one either has to go or we'll wait for the next location. RTY up through overnight high. Dez is getting paid. And Q just stuck in a consolidation pattern here. Volumes below average. And 1 minute, a little less than 1 minute till 10 a.m. Still in the runner with the trail just beneath 610. Basically my entry. There we go. There's 700. So I'll lift the trail here just beneath 660. You don't really want price coming back into this structure. Main target is the session highs, but instead of putting a limit order out, I'm going to just work with an active trail because I like the fact that price held prior day high on the retest. So I think we may target 800 if a new high of day can be made. There's 10 a.m. as well. Let's get that push. Come on. ES held VWAP, little intraday spring setup back in a prior day high now. It's definitely helping NASDAQ. That's good. Okay. So if NQ can make a new high of day here, I'm going to trail just beneath 690. See if we can get that new high. Just a couple ticks shy right now. No fresh high yet. Not yet. Not yet. Might do it right here. Come on, push. There it is. All right, so lift the trail. We'll go basically 688. And that session high, that's the main target for that prior day retest. Long setup. So if you're long, you definitely want to trim some off here. Like I said, I'm going to work with an active trail and target 800. Got ES coming into session highs as well. It's a lot of congestion in this area from last week between 750 and 800. All right, there's basically a retest of the previous high. So once this candle closes, I'm going to lift the trail just beneath 710. There we go. Trailing 710 right now, targeting 800. It's basically at least a 200 point morning already secured. Past two Mondays have been surprisingly good. For me, Monday's typically a slower day. So remember before the open, we talked about the significance of that 400 pivot, whether buyers could show acceptance above 400 with a push through overnight high, prior day high, a little continuation of Friday's bounce. Not a ton of follow through so far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and lift the trail a little bit more. We'll go just beneath 720. There we go. It's opening up. And again, we're targeting 800. ES has just made a new high of day. Getting pretty close now. So I'm going to actually trail a bit tighter, trailing just beneath 740. And this is where trailing becomes more of an art form because I don't want to give back too much of this unrealized profit as price gets closer and closer to my target. Like you don't want to give back 50 points for an additional 20. See if the trail gets tagged here at 7:38 exactly. There it is. Trailed out. Yeah, that's a solid day. That is a solid day. I'll probably be done for the day there. We have first trade was about 105 points. Second trade is 130. 230 points on the sesh. 2 for 2 in NQ. Both pretty straightforward ideas. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Did anyone else grab the long from prior day high, overnight high area? A trail looks like it may have been spot on again. Heck yeah. Volume's still pretty much below average here. Yeah, it's probably going to be an early day. Now we're right back into today's structure, this morning's structure. So I'm not always happy with my trade management, but today I definitely am. Hard to complain. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's not always as you know. If you long time viewers of the stream will know it's not always that clean, but today today it was. So we're thankful. Clean up this chart a little bit. So I really want to see how this 15-minute closes. Showing the 15 minutes definitely showing some exhaustion there. Markets closed on Thursday. Friday's a half day. Holiday weeks typically are a bit slower, lower volume. Thankfully, right now we still have some leftover volatility from past couple of weeks. So even with the lower volumes, making for some, at least this morning, some decent action. Yeah, Gabe, full closure on Thursday, Thanksgiving. ES, a little retest there, prior day high, overnight high, held. Now back in a session highs, RTY similar, little structure versus the overnight high. Those are some of my favorite types of entries. I mean, that's exactly what we saw in NQ. Right through here. So these sorts of entries right here, I was not in this trade, but just for educational purposes, ES makes a session high. You get the retest. I want to see basically a bullish candle closure right in that area. Then you can long through the high of the signal, take some off into the highs, and see if you can carry for even higher. Those are typically going to be layup opportunities. for at the very least a scalp. Sometimes you'll get the continuation move. And then RTY, you got the same thing right here. I mean, look at the 1 minute, right? Just retesting the key zone after price has made some highs. And then you take it into the structured target, which is session highs. It's nice. That is nice. And Q still, for the most part, still within Thursday's massive sell day. I wouldn't be surprised to see the entirety of this week within that daily bar. Mhm. So that 15-minute did not show the exhaustion that it was potentially showing. It was like 5 or 6 minutes ago now, but that's a key example of why you don't want to do too much analysis before the candle closes, because it's incomplete information. So you really want candle closures. We were talking about the 15-minute potentially looking like a shooting star, and it still had like 1 or 2 minutes left on it. If you're like, oh, it's a shooting star, I'm going to short, and then you get the bounce there, you're basing your trade idea on misinformation. Yeah, this looking at the 4 hour here, this 800 area, we had a lot of support previously in this zone. So now potentially acting as resistance. I mean, this is a tricky spot here because price has reclaimed the key 400 pivot, but all of the volume from the past, what was that, 2 months, 2.5 months is right here at 800. You can see volume point of control right through here. So that can potentially serve as resistance. Interesting that the 61% fib is right there as well. That's from the big sell off on Thursday, Thursday's high into Friday morning low. A lot of reasons to be doing less right now. Volume is a big one, location is another big one. Doing less by doing more dishes right now. Hey, whatever it takes to not get you to over trade, you got to distract yourself. That's an effective method, if you ask me. Because if you just sit there staring at the candlesticks, it becomes easier to force something. You get a little bored. You want some excitement. You start seeing things that aren't fully there. In those moments, I find it helpful to like fully close out the broker. That way, you may still have your chart up, but you can't really do like an impulse trade because the broker's actually closed. So you'd have to reboot it, log in. By then, the idea's gone, usually. How about paper trades? Yeah, so I mean the thing about the paper trades is if you're disciplined to still stick with the higher quality setups, they can be solid. It's a good tool for practicing, but if you're taking lower quality plays in the sim account or paper trading lower quality setups, then how's that going to be different than when you're trading either a funded account or a personal account? It's just habit formation. So the account may be different, but if you're in the habit of just trading whatever, it can be bad news. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I'm saying. Like if you're treating your paper trading like you would the live, sticking with A plus plays, then it's definitely a solid tool for getting effective reps in. So NQ at 5 minutes is starting to show us some barcode. The 30 minute, so there's 4 minutes left on it. But look at the big wick on the 30 minute. I'm not really surprised by this action. This kind of seems like a big chop zone, if you ask me. We've got a multi-month volume point and control right through here. Trading technologies. I'm not familiar with that at all. Josh, are there any paper accounts you can trade through Tradeovate? Pretty much most of the popular prop firms will let you get a Tradeovate account. I'm going to call it here in a few minutes. I just want to see this next 30-minute closure. Session volume point of control just shifted higher up into 733. There's your next 30-minute bar opening up. That's 1 hour into the sesh. How's everyone's morning? Say the easiest opportunity on NQ today is right through here. Pretty straightforward. For ES, I really like that intraday spring opportunity with VWAP right there as well. More so on the 2-minute though. Yeah, this looks good. Green, great back-to-back Mondays. No trades today. Slightly red, but not great on discipline side. Ooh, definitely stop trading for the day. If the discipline's already slipping. Green, but gave some back on the chop. Also a good time to shut it down. That's a dangerous one. That, at least for me, that was always a dangerous one. Like nice green morning, you give a little bit back, and then you're just like, all right, well, let me just get one more trade. I'll get back to where I was, and then I'll shut it down. Oh, no, no, no. That is, you start thinking about that high watermark you had on the day. Ooh, danger. Gabe, good day, not because of P&L, but because you followed your plan and system. Good. Heck yeah. That's really what defines a good trading day right there. Pretty much nailed it. All right, I'm going to call it right there. I can't imagine I'm going to place another trade here, especially after how the morning has already gone. Or 2 for 2. One of the main ideas we discussed this morning was market structure based opportunities versus prior day high, overnight high. First trade, more of an opening drive trade, but I did opt for 15-second microstructure entry right through there. You just can't see it on the 1 minute chart. Caught that move, and then the retest of that same area, overnight high, prior day high with the fib buy zone. That's basically going to be nearly an A plus opportunity. And now NQ is just kind of entering some choppiness with low volume. So I'd be careful here. You want to see ideally more volume come in. And then my preference would be for price to kind of show some shift, like a trap or something like that, to really give you a solid setup. Otherwise, cash is the move. Don't forget, it's a holiday week. These are historically slower weeks. It's easy to overdo it, and you won't be happy if you do that. So consider doing less. We'll be live tomorrow. We'll be live on Wednesday. Definitely won't be live Thursday, and will not be live on Friday. So I'll chat with you guys tomorrow. Thanks for your time this morning. We'll keep it going in the Traders Think Tank. Otherwise, I'll see the rest of y'all tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day.